Welcome to Tiger Talk. I'm Will Vandervoort with the Clemson Insiders. This is Gavin Oliver to my left as we get you ready for Clemson, South Carolina. Big rivalry game this week without saying, Gavin. It's, this is the one, you know how passionate I am about this rivalry. And, this is the one I think all the fans kind of look forward to a certain extent. I don't think maybe it's to the level that it was years ago because Clemson's done so well, but it's still a very important game because college football playoffs ain't gonna last forever, but this rivalry is.
Yeah, I agree with that. We were talking about this a little bit off camera earlier, but it's still very, very important. The rivalry is to fans across the state. There's no doubt about that. It means a lot, maybe more than any other regular season game to Clemson-Carolina fans. But nationally, across the world, the nation, I mean, I definitely think it's lost some luster, not because of what Clemson's done, but because Carolina's fallen off the map. And I think when both teams are ranked and it's on a primetime game, I think people get more interested in it overall. But definitely, there's no doubt that every week this time of year, Thanksgiving week, it's a big deal to people in the Palmetto State.
Absolutely, it is. And so this week, of course, we got to talk with a number of players and coaches, and of course, we'll start it off with the head man himself, Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney. Dabo was a little fired up today because of the whole situation with what Todd Ellis said last week about the Tigers' walk of champions, and Dabo even called it ridiculous to a certain extent. And now, Gavin, it was interesting to see. We heard about it last night, what he did on his call-in show, but he kind of went into a little bit more today, and to watch Dabo kind of give his opinions on what he thought about that statement.
Yeah, I think Dabo, what he said, he basically sort of reiterated what he said on the radio, but just called it ridiculous. Said, what we do has no impact on what they should do. Like, basically what he was saying is, just because they're flipping birds at us, does that mean we ought to throw things in the stands? I mean, does it go both ways? Does it work that way? It doesn't work that way. And so he obviously doesn't agree with what Todd Ellis said, and he's making that. I think it's kind of, he wanted to get this out there and wanted to kind of let people know that hey, this is a walk of change. This is something we've been doing for 17 years?
Well, 17 years for Dabo, but they actually, Tommy Bowden brought it to Clemson. He stole it from his father at Florida State. So Clemson's actually been doing this since 1999.
Yeah, it's something that Clemson does. It's their tradition. It's not intended to be a slight at any fans, or not intended to provoke anybody. But it's. I think Dabo kind of wanted to get that out there so people who aren't familiar with their tradition really know what's the case, and that they're not. This is not something that they do. This is something that they do every game, regardless of the opponent. It's not something that they do as they're walking to the student section just to get the Gamecocks fired up. And why would they do that anyway? Why would you want to get the fans even more fired up than they already are? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. What Todd Ellis said, and I think Dabo was kind of glad to get some of that stuff off his chest, because he obviously did not take too kindly to those comments.
Yeah, and I'm sure Will Muschamp wasn't too happy the fact that Todd Ellis fired up Dabo Swinney, because it was, this is definitely one of those situations where you poke the bear. And so now, you got a Clemson team who's loaded with talent, and, at every position, and the defense is what they are also. And then, you got a South Carolina team that's struggling to win football games right now. They're struggling to move the football. And, how are they going to handle that? And then you throw this little extra piece in there that's going to have the Clemson players, I think, even a little bit more fired up on game night. And that's not what they wanted, to have that team juiced up before they even got there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think Todd Ellis was thinking too much along those lines, but he should have been, because
absolutely should have been.
He's a big Gamecock guy and supporter, and you would think he would want to do everything he could to help the team out, but in that way he was kind of hurting them by saying all that things. Because I think you're right, and we've seen this year when people have bashed Clemson and disrespected them, they've come out the next week and really put it to the team that they're playing that week and really came out with a point to prove. And I think this is, like you said, poking the bear, and I think the whole team in general will be fired up even more.
Also, they spoke to Gage Cervenka. You had a chance to listen to some of the comments he's had to say today. Gage, for those who don't know, Gage grew up in Greenwood, grew up a Clemson fan, and he despises the Gamecocks, despises. And so he has, the last few weeks, he's really kind of let it known his feelings about the Gamecocks.
Absolutely. He hates them. He hates them maybe more than anybody else on the team.
Yes.
He said that. He talked about the Walk of Champions too. He was actually asked about that, and he kind of said what Dabo did. It's something that they've been doing. It's not a jab at any opponent. It's something that gets their mindset right before the game, gets them in the right mood. So he talked a little bit about that, but he also talked about what it's like to play at Williams-Brice, and he said it's different atmosphere. He said it's a little bit more hostile than normal when Clemson goes there, and he said he actually embraces it. He likes it. He likes having that extra edge when you go there, and everybody's against you. It's kind of you against the world mentality. He kind of feeds off that, but he also talked about how when you're going to the locker room at halftime, you got to make sure you keep your helmet on because bottles and other trash and batteries or whatever might come your way, and you might want to keep your helmet on. And also, he also said, there's going to be a lot more middle fingers thrown at you too. So he talked about that, about his experience at Williams-Brice, and also, he didn't say this to the media, but he actually said this to Kwok and Kelly on their radio show. I just wanted to bring this up.
Line,
this was hilarious. He said when he's walking to the locker room with Trevor, he's going to take the bottle for Trevor. He's going to be his bodyguard of sorts, and he said he specifically wants to protect Trevor's hair. So I thought that was pretty funny.
That's good. Yeah, he's a character. Now, he's been great this last couple of weeks with this rivalry and what it means to him and all. And it's an interesting angle that we spoke with Denzel Johnson also, and he was talking about he grew up in Columbia and grew up a South Carolina fan. And now he said he's obviously not a fan now. He's a Tiger, but he talked about how it was interesting to kind of go through that. His whole family were South Carolina fans, and obviously he's got friends that play at South Carolina now, and guys who and then everybody in his neighborhood and all that stuff. And he talked about he was asked, so what about your family? Are they still South Carolina fans? He says no, he's converted them all. Yeah. He's converted them all to wearing orange, and they're all about Clemson now. Yeah. But he did say he had a couple of friends that have not converted, and they try to give him a hard time. But he's like, we've won 5 in a row, so there's not much they can say.
Not much to say, absolutely. And I asked him if he was offered by South Carolina during the recruiting process, and he said he wasn't, but he took an official visit there. And then I followed up by asking him, is that kind of any motivation when you go back to Columbia and playing at Williams-Brice on Saturday? Is there kind of a little extra fire in you to prove something to the team that didn't offer you? And he said, no, I don't. He laughed and said, no, I don't have anything to prove to South Carolina, but yeah.
He's got something.
When he goes on Saturday, he's going to have a little extra fuel in his fire.
Absolutely, he has to, because, that's a game. This is, a school that, hit in his backyard, and they didn't even offer him. That has to be a slap in the face. And here he is, 4 years later. He's already played for a couple national championships, won a couple national championships, and he's played a big role in that. So I can imagine he's kind of chomping at the bit to get on the field in Columbia on Saturday night, and and get a chance to maybe show the Gamecock fans and South Carolina coaches and stuff what they've missed by not coming after him. But hey, it worked out for Clemson. Yeah. Let's just be honest. Denzel's been a great player for Clemson, and has really stepped up when they had some injuries last year and stuff at the back in the back end. Has really played well. And again, him and Nolan Turner have done a great job, I think, backing up Tanner Muse and Kayvon Wallace this year. Been solid. It's part of that secondary that has been unbelievable this season. We also got a chance to speak with Travis Etienne, and Et was I love his attitude, man. Most guys would be upset or whatever. For you to home know, Travis Etienne was not named a finalist for the Doak Walker Award, which goes to the nation's best running back. Let's go ahead, put a little something on that. Travis Etienne, guys, was not named as one of the top running backs in the country. Yeah. How in the world do you mess that up? Did you just was it an accident or something? Because this guy was a finalist last year, and arguably to me, he's had even a better year this year than he did last year. 6 straight games of 100 yards. He's leading the country in yards per carry at 8.7, 14 touchdowns. 1,300 yards, 121 yards per game, which is the most in Clemson history, by the way, if he continues at his pace. He's about to set the all-time rushing record at Clemson. He's about to set the all-time touchdown records at ACC for rushing and overall. And this guy's not a finalist. And then Dabo's comments were pretty good about that too.
Yeah.
Dabo was not happy about it.
No, he said basically any list like that doesn't include Travis Etienne is a joke. That's what he said basically. And It is. I mean, Travis should be, for us who get the pleasure of watching him every week, it's unbelievable. All of the Clemson media, I think, understands and appreciates what he does every Saturday, how hard he runs, I mean, his explosiveness and ability to be physical and also run by you, run around you, run through you. It's amazing. And we know what he's capable of. He should be in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. He's that good.
Absolutely
and
should.
It's a shame that he likely probably won't be there. He's not even on the Doak Walker Award list, so I don't think we can expect him to be in New York, sadly. But yeah, he's amazing for what we get to watch him do. But yeah, like you said, he just lets it roll right off.
Yeah,
he's not bothered one bit.
He wasn't bothered at all by it today.
Nah, he's more focused about helping his team win. He says that, and a lot of guys I think would say that in his position, but I think you can really tell.
I think he means it. Yeah,
he means it now. And he said, he talked a little bit about how Dabo. He was asked about Dabo's comments about saying that it was a joke that he wasn't on the list. He really appreciates that. He said it's nice knowing that Dabo has his back, and he thought that was cool. But I think part of it with Travis is. It's kind of the same way with Clemson. Little old Clemson, the disrespect. Nobody, they don't play anybody. What Eaton's doing is great and all, according to what in their eyes. But he's not playing anybody. He's not doing it against anybody. I think that's part of also, the fact that he's not playing a lot in the second half. So they're not looking at the yards per carry as much as just the total yards. They're not diving into the statistics enough to see what he's actually accomplishing. So I think that's part of it too.
There's no doubt. One last thing, talking with Eaton, he talked about the rivalry, and I asked him. I said, "Can you compare this rivalry to any other rivalry in the country?"
Yeah.
And I mean, anyone you've been in or grew up around, and he said, no, it's uncomparable. And he's talked about the level of respect he has for this rivalry and for the game and what it means to the fan bases in this state. And said that he got that early on here at Clemson in his Clemson career. He said the seniors and stuff that first year kind of told him what this game meant. Yeah,
I think it's easy for guys who are outside the state when they come in, they don't really fully understand what this means to people across the state and how it's kind of a 365 year-round thing. It's one game for the rest of the year. You're either feeling good or either it bugs you the whole year if you're a fan. So he kind of got an early understanding about what that's all about. And I thought another interesting thing that Travis talked about today was that I wanted to mention was he is still friends with another member of a rival member of the Gamecocks, Tavian Feaster, of course. He actually talked about how they talked last week. They had a conversation last week. Tavian, I believe it was, contacted Travis, and they talked a little bit about. They joked around a little bit, and then they talked about Tavian's transition from Clemson to South Carolina, what he's been through, how it's gone, and Travis said that Tavian gave him some advice, and I thought that was interesting to hear, too, that they're still in contact, still good friends. And I think a lot of the guys on the team, as we heard throughout the week, still have respect for Feaster despite him picking up and leaving.
Yeah, and the advice was more like, what he's going to do next, because he's in the same situation Feaster was last year as far as, junior, still got a little bit of schooling left to do, how he needs to finish it. Just that kind of stuff, more so, not necessarily the situation where Feaster went to South Carolina and transferred, because obviously Eaton's not doing that. I think after this year, we all kind of understand. Even Dabo even said it today. Look who's going to see the highest guy drafted. Yeah. So Dabo just pretty much lets the cat out of the bag there. we know, but we all knew it anyway. Travis is going to go ahead and go to the next level, and I think that's what a lot of the advice was for Tavian.
Yeah. So, and another thing that Dabo said, we wished Feaster well every week except for this one.
Yes, exactly. So, and maybe that'd be the case. So, but yeah. So, stay tuned to the Clemson Insider. We'll have more leading up to and after the Clemson-Carolina game this Saturday from Williams-Brice in Columbia. So we'll see you on the other side.